Are your container plants dying? Well, here's how to fix it, and in double quick time. Not everyone has space for a large garden, but the truth is you can grow just about anything in a container, from herbs and salads to fruit trees and even small shrubs. I'm going to show you how to choose, prepare and arrange your pots for great results. Most people fail with container gardening not because they can't grow plants, but because they make the same three mistakes. Pots that are too small, no drainage and poor soil. Fix these and your plants will explode with growth. Growing in containers is one of the easiest ways to garden. You don't need a huge space and you can create something beautiful and productive even on a balcony or patio. But there are a few key things that make all the difference between plants that struggle and plants that really thrive. The first is pot size. When you're choosing a container, it's always better to go bigger than you think you'll need. An oversized pot gives roots the space they need to spread and develop properly, which means stronger, healthier growth above ground. It also saves you the trouble of constantly repotting as the plant grows. Every time you pot on, you disturb the roots, and while most plants will recover, they do lose momentum. A larger pot avoids that cycle and keeps your plants happier for longer. Next is drainage. This is absolutely critical in container growing. In the ground, excess water can drain away naturally, but in a pot, it can build up quickly and suffocate the roots. That's when you get problems like root rot, yellowing leaves, and stunted growth. To avoid this, make sure your pots have proper drainage holes and don't block them up. Help keep the holes clear by adding pieces of broken terracotta pots. Some call them crocks or some gravel. Think of it as insurance against soggy soil. Plants like consistency, and with good drainage, they'll get exactly the balance of air and water they need. Soil quality is another big factor. When you garden in beds, the soil life is constantly renewing itself, with worms, fungi and microbes keeping everything in balance. Containers don't have that natural cycle, so it's down to you to provide the best growing medium you can. A high quality potting soil is worth the investment. Look for something that retains moisture while still draining freely. You can also add additions to it, but supplementing it with your own homemade straight from your pile if you have one. Over time, nutrients will be used up, so topping up with some fresh soil or feeding with organic fertilizer keeps your plants strong and productive. Think of it as giving them a regular meal rather than expecting them to live off scraps. Now, here's a tip that makes a surprising difference. Raising your pots. Simply lifting your containers onto stands, bricks or pot feet helps water drain away more efficiently, which is good for the roots, but it also makes your space look far better. By playing with different heights, you create layers of interest and a more harmonious display. Instead of a flat line of pots, you get a garden with depth and structure, even in the smallest space. And finally, let's talk about the containers themselves. Plastic pots are lightweight and practical, but you don't have to stop there. Terracotta has a classic, timeless look and allows the soil to breathe, though it does dry out more quickly. Glazed ceramic pots are excellent for holding moisture and come in endless colors and styles. Just make sure they're frostproof if your climate dictates that need. Wooden planters are fantastic for bigger crops like potatoes or dwarf fruit trees. And then there's the creative option of recycling. Old barrels, metal tubs, or even sturdy crates can all be turned into planters. The golden rule, whatever container you choose, is that it must have proper drainage holes. No drainage, no success. So to sum up, go big with your pots to give roots the best chance. Always make sure drainage is in place. Use rich and balanced soil. Raise your pots for both health and beauty, and choose containers that suit your plants and your style. Do these 5 things and you'll be amazed at how much you can grow in containers. Healthy plants, bigger harvests, and a space that looks fantastic. Now let me show you how I use pots here with a variety of different plants to create different results. When we came here, we inherited this hideous, what we call the wood store. And we needed to cover it because this has got this old OSB board and you can't paint it. So what could we do? Well, we employed containers. And you can see these roses that are growing up, and they're all in pots because obviously we can't go into the concrete floor. So it's a bit like a patio, and they cover the whole of that side, even if my Christmas lights no longer work. So that's a great way of using the containers we've just been looking at. But there's another way we can use them, and I use it like this in the form of a nursery. Now these are actually mulberry trees, and they've self-seeded from the fruits from the old tree that we had cut down outside the new greenhouse. And I've just let them grow in here. I've transplanted them into here actually, and I've just let them go. And the idea is during the autumn they're going to be going out into the orchard. So I've made use of containers, like I say, as a nursery. Now we've got these guys here. These are herbs. This is the thyme. And we've got a bay tree here sitting in this container. Seems to be quite happy. I'm not sure whether slugs like bay, but we've got a couple in there, and I don't like to see them, so I'll just put them somewhere else. So in this area where we've got the herbs, some of them are directly into the ground like the rosemary, but over here, as you might have seen in the past, we've got tubs of mint. This is garlic chives going to flower, and when they finish flowering I'm going to be collecting the seeds. Into the back there we've got sage that I grew from seed, all in containers, and they all sit in these little dishes. This is another nursery pot. It's a type of acacia, but we sit them in these because two things: compost will release any excess water that it doesn't want to hold, so it's in the tray. And secondly, it stops ants climbing in and attacking the roots like we had the other week with the mint. So, and I can move any of these around if I want to. So it gives me flexibility. And if I need to bring them indoors because of the winter, I can do so just by picking them up. Here we go, another one. House plants are always in containers. Just to break up that table, popped him on there. And then and probably like many of you, you're going to fill up a container with these guys, these geraniums. Now this is a great example. This is a big pot, and there's only 2 geranium plants in there, and they were quite small in comparison when they first went in, but look how they've grown. So you can see how they do expand. And then we've got this guy here, which was donated by the local school. It's a type of hibiscus apparently, but I haven't seen the flowers on it this year, so we'll see what that's like. Let me show you something else. So again, using my theory of having pots as nurseries, these 3 plants here are goji berries. I've never grown them before. I didn't want to put them straight in the ground. I wanted to see how they would develop. And if we look closely, we're beginning now to get flowers, which quite late in the season, we're in September. I don't know if I'm going to get any fruits. Now these guys grew like crazy, so I had to give them a really good haircut, and having done that, they put on a lot of growth. So by having them in these containers here, I can work out their growing habits and what I want to do, or how I want to plant them in their final positions, which will be out in the fruit garden again in the autumn, along with those mulberries. So it's a great way of being, it's not just about growing something for effect. You can trial and error things and see if it works or not before you put them in the final positions. Let's have a look in the greenhouse. So I'm using these containers in here to grow some food, some winter salads. Because this greenhouse is quite a new project for us here this year, I'm not quite sure how things are going to go. But I thought if I do it like this, again, I can see how things work out and then build on for next year. So we've got everything in here. There's wasabi, mizuno. I've got some winter purslane somewhere, they're over there, and various other Asian salads that are designed to grow during the colder months and still be able to give me a bit of a harvest for fresh leaves. So another way of being versatile with things that you're growing. And like I say, it might be in the greenhouse here. You could easily do this on your own balcony or rooftop if you've got one. Now I'm going to show you a mistake, an impulse buy, and something that was absolutely useless in me getting it. Let me show you what it is. So we've been talking about how to make sure you've got decent drainage. This was in a fairly popular supermarket here, and I looked at that and thought, do you know what, that's a really good idea to have as a planter. But here is a problem with it. What can you see? Or what can't you see? You can't see any holes. Now the design of these things is that that's supposed to be your drainage hole. And you think, oh, that's quite a good idea. It's got little holes in it and whatever else. And yeah, fine. And then you push that in there. And the idea is that it will drain the water. Comes out through the legs on the bottom. Waste of time. Because if you filled that with compost, like a lot of people are going to do, it's not going to drain away. So the only way to make that work is to drill holes in the base of this. So you get the proper drainage as we've shown you in the first part of this video. So on the one hand, you look at that and think, oh, that's fantastic. But in actual fact, unless you modify it, it's a waste of time. Now I've got a top tip for you. Quite often when you buy terracotta pots, they look what I would call too new. And if you want a quick way of making them look a little bit aged, all you have to do is take your pot, paint it with either milk or yogurt, leave it in the sun. And what will happen is that the bacteria in that milk or yogurt will react, and your pot becomes a kind of mottled green. So it looks like it's been out for ages. So there you go. You can buy yourself a new pot without it being aged, save yourself a fortune, chuck a bit of milk on it, and off you go. I don't think Mr. Lizard was very impressed about me moving his home. Anyway, we'll put it back, leave him to it, and I'll catch you next week.